So when it comes to getting started, as far as like what do I do, how do I get started, when you want to sell a house, basically is what I'm getting to. This guide will help you do that. Now, what I'm going to be going through is all the points that are inside of here, and some of them I'm going to be expanding on or honing in or diving into, or just kind of giving you a brief overview. So this video is geared towards making this much easier. It's like a video companion guide for the actual copy that you're going to be getting. But if you don't have a copy, so just comment below, and I'll get in contact with you. I'll respond with you and make sure that you do get a copy. All right, but just make sure you comment below to be able to get your copy, so you'll know how to get started when you're thinking about selling a house. Okay, let's get into it. All right, so the 27 valuable tips you should know to get your home sold fast for top dollar. So I've been a realtor for over 17 years full-time, and this is just like a compilation or a compilation of all those things that if you haven't considered, you might want to consider, and any questions that you do have, this might answer and even expand upon that even more. So, but let's dive into that, because that's one of the things you're going to want is how much am I going to get, right? How much am I going to get, and all the other stuff. Let's get into it. All right. So the first thing that you're going to see right here, let me show you the first thing. And again, this is my copy. It's all kind of like, written on and marked up and stuff like that. But you'll get a clean copy. So, all right, understand why you're selling. And I know it might seem pretty obvious, but really dig into that yourself. Have a conversation with a friend or family member or your spouse, and say, why are we really doing this? And ask yourself several times, why are you doing that? What's your motivation? Because I know there's a bunch of things that could happen between finances, a job situation, personal family situations, or a combination of any of that stuff. So really understand why, to help you see what's going to be the best approach to what you're actually trying to accomplish. So know your reason, okay? And this is going to be something not only that you discuss amongst yourselves, okay, or yourself, but also a realtor if you do choose to go forward with one. And of course, I can definitely help you with that. But the goal is to know your why. That way you can know the plan and really how to get there. And there's several different ways depending on what you want to do, what your goals are, or what your current situation is, and how to get, how to best get there. Okay. The second thing is keep the reason to yourself. And what I'm telling you is, when a buyer comes in, and this is more geared towards, a buyer, when you get buyer showings and stuff, they're going to ask you questions on like, why are you selling? What's the reason? Where you're going to? And it really is best to, politely say, well, let's keep the focus on the house, and then, the reasons that you have are personal to you, and that's okay. And again, if you have a realtor, default it to the realtor. You know what? Talk to my realtor about that. They know my situation, and basically we're going to, protect your rights, because they might seem like your friend, but sure as anything else, I've seen it plenty of times where it seems like a point of weakness, and you might not get the highest price that you want, and you might appear to be overly motivated, dare I say even desperate. So always keep it to yourself, even though they seem super friendly. Okay, it's at this point in your best interest. You want to discuss it afterwards, after the closing, that's fine, that's up to you. It's just a suggestion, and you can see it's number 2 here. All right, the third thing is, before setting a price, do your homework. All right, so what does that mean? I have another video too, just so you know, and if you want to do it yourself right now, you'll see in the other video, you're going to use 4 websites, so you can get a good general aspect or a good range as far as what the price of the home or its value is at the current time, okay? Of course, the best way is to either pay for an appraiser to do it, or to ask a realtor to do it, because we have access to the same information, and we use similar pricing models to be able to make sure that your home is accurately priced for the current market condition versus what your goals are, okay? So either one of those 3 things is do it yourself to get a general idea, or pay for an appraiser, or ask a realtor to do that, all right? And when you're setting the price, you have to take into different things into consideration, because I know we might feel like our home is like the best one on the road, or the best one in the neighborhood or the community or something, but there's always these subtle nuances that might not be really evident, and sometimes you might actually want to visit some of the homes that are on the market to truly get a comparison. You'll schedule it, do a walkthrough with the realtor, and they'll be able to give you access to a home that's similar to yours, or as the industry terms, comparable to yours. All right, and that's that's number 3. But number 4 dives into that with doing some home shopping for yourself. That way you can check even open houses, in addition to looking for a realtor to see or enter homes that are in the market that aren't open at the time, because not everybody does an open house. All right, number 5, getting an appropriate appraisal is a real benefit. Now, if you can afford it, it's really suggested, because if, for example, the current market value is, just putting a number out there, let's say $425,000, okay, or $250,000. It doesn't matter, whatever the number is. When you get it appraised at that or above, that means you're starting from a point of strength, and you can leave. I would suggest leave the appraisal out somewhere inconspicuously, but someone will notice it. But then, if it's not that strong, let's say, for example, you feel your house is worth $425,000, but the appraisal comes in at closer to $399,000 or $400,000, then at least you'll know what the current market is doing, and that's not something that I would leave out. Just a suggestion, but it's good to know where you're at with pricing. Okay, tax assessments and what they really mean. All right, there's several factors that the county, what they usually do, or the public ordinance, whatever that might be for your case, they do several calculations, and what they do is they determine the tax value of the home. And I've seen it so many times that's not it's not the market value of the house. So be aware of that, okay? And not uncommon to see the tax value sometimes be lower than the market value. So don't let that scare you. Always get the true value of the home. All right. The other thing is number 7, deciding upon a realtor. All right. So you know what? You're going to see there's several paragraphs in here that are going to help you do that. What questions to ask. We even have a pamphlet that I'm not sure. Let's see if I have what questions. Oops, I hit it again. Oh, here you go. Yeah, the 10. Oh, it's backwards, but 10 questions to ask before you hire an agent, meaning a real estate agent. So if you want that pamphlet, just comment below, and I'll get that to you. Because you really got to know, do they have a performance guarantee? You don't want to get locked into a long-term listing agreement unless there's some type of performance guarantee. What's their marketing like? Do they speak more than one language? Are they going to be in more than one multiple listing service? I mean, that's going to be the heart or the hub of where the listing resides and how it gets out to the world. Okay, and that way you can make a better decision and have some questions in there to ask your realtor, and that way you'll make a solid decision. And it's not always going to be the friend of the family. Remember, this is a business decision, okay? It's not a personal decision at all. So just be sure to, when you get that, or if you get that, or even if you just read item number 7 or paragraph number 7 here, that you take that into strong consideration, okay? Because that's really going to help you get the most value for your home as well. All right, number 8, ensure you have room to negotiate. It's not uncommon to make sure that you have a small percentage, and depending on the time of market, it's always going to be a little bit different. And what I mean by that is sometimes you'll want only 1% of the market because of where the market is. It's not so strong. Sometimes you can have as much as 5% differentiation between what you're listing the home for sale versus what you'll take. So having a little wiggle room is really important. But you got to know what the market values are for homes that are, again, that are comparable to yours in your situation, in your neighborhood, in your subdivision. Okay. All right. Gosh, this is this is one of the big things that will turn off a buyer, because appearances do matter, and that's number 9. Make sure they count. Things being in order. What do you hear when you walk in? Take a sec to look around. Get a friend's opinion. The type of friend that's always brutally honest. Sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable, but this is where you really need that. Are there any odors in the home, whether it's pet odors or smoke odors? All right, so that's really important. And that kind of goes into number 10, which is invite an honest opinion of others. Okay, those kind of overlap, and I broke it down because it's not always easy to digest, because how you live in a home isn't necessarily how you sell a home. And you know what? I was hesitating on this, but let me show you this real quick. All right, 10 ways to increase the home's value. Okay, and it says it right here: money-making tips to help prepare before you sell. All right, and what I want you to do is to pay careful attention to the first 6 items, because it'll quickly, instantly turn off a buyer. So if you want this resource, give me give me a comment below, and I'll get that to you as well. All right, I have a lot of resources here because, again, I've been doing this a while, so I'm here, to help. And the more help you have, the more sure-footed, as the expression goes, that you're going to be when you go to list a home and you get the strongest value. Okay, so again, that's another resource. But number 11 is make sure, and this kind of goes along with preparing the property, and that's get it spick and span, clean, and fix everything, even if it seems insignificant. Now, oops, sorry about that. I think my mic went down. But what happens is, I know sometimes you might not have the budget, okay, and that's totally understandable. And that's what's going to help you decide, should I or could I sell it just as is? And in a lot of instances, that's what a lot of people do. But we always try to, evaluate what can we repair, what can we repair. All right, and that could be doorknobs or door jambs. That could be something as simple as tightening the screws on the doorknobs. All right, getting the carpet stains out. That's part of fixing and cleaning as well. Okay, the doorbell. Maybe getting a power wash from the outside, whether it's the driveway, the walkway, or around the house where you might have different mold spots. That does accumulate sometimes on the outside of the house. So this will give you a good guide as far as taking that into consideration. Okay. Number 12, allow prospective buyers to visualize themselves in your home. Okay, so that means make sure you avoid clutter. All right, take as many of the knickknacks that are around the home out, remove them, thin them out as much as possible. It's called depersonalize. If you can, take some of the personal pictures off, not all of them, but again, you just want to make sure that the house doesn't seem overly cluttered. It'll seem smaller, and it'll be harder for the buyer to kind of focus in on them picturing themselves actually being there, okay, in the home, as their home. All right. And this relates to a couple of the early ones too. Look at that. Number 13, deal killer odors must go. So you really need to know that this is something that's important. Whether you have a dog or if you smoke, you really got to be aware of these odors, and you might not be. So again, get a third party or another person's opinion of that. It's really important. Okay. Number 14, be a smart seller. You really should disclose everything. We do have what they call a seller's disclosure. It's another form that we have. You kind of fill it out. Maybe take you 10, 15, 20 minutes max to fill it out, only a few minutes. That way, nothing will come back around to kind of, as they say, bite you in the butt, because everything has been disclosed and you've been upfront. Okay. Number 15, it's better with more prospects. All right. So what that means is you want to attract as many buyers as you can. All right. because the more buyers you have, the more it's going to drive up the demand, and you'll get a stronger price. So if they're competing against each other, that's the best way to do it. And it's not just price, it's also about the product. The better you can, because your house is a product, you're delivering the product, and that product is going to have a price, and its presentation will make all the difference in the world. This goes through that. Okay? All right, the next thing is number 16. All right, keep emotions in check during negotiations. Sometimes people get offended because it's too low of an offer, or they may have commented on something that you might take offense to. So, always try to keep calm. It's just somebody else's opinion, and the end goal is to make sure that you get the price in your time frame. All right, so just try to be calm, because sometimes that does happen. 17, learn why your buyer is motivated. Okay, we usually ask them, questions like that, and have some type of interaction. As a realtor, I only make sure that I only know what their motivation is, but I also make sure that they're also qualified. They're not my buyer, but I take the extra step to make sure that we have a good, strong qualification, and they're financially very ready, willing, and able to be able to move forward and not waste your time. Okay, so we'll find that out. Number 18, what the buyer can really pay. And that goes along with either proof of funds, a pre-qualification, okay, or a pre-approval letter. They each mean different things depending on the lender that's submitting it. And proof of funds is basically the person that has cash. And cash doesn't always mean liquid cash funds that's ready to be extracted from the bank. Sometimes they have that in investments as well. We have to find out what they have and how quickly they can access it, so we know, when can you close, because you have to make plans too. So that way we're making sure that once we know how quickly they can close, we know what time frame we're working as far as for you and finding another place. Okay. Number 19, when the buyer would like to close. All right, so we really need to know when they would like to close. And I know that you might have a time frame, but we always try to make sure that we try to compromise somewhere in between. Okay, and that's one of the things that we do. 20, never sign a deal on your next home until you sell your current home. There are ways to do that, and if a seller who's overly eager on the first deal that comes along, even desperate, is not usually a good situation. So we need to talk about how prepared we need to be and how to get prepared. Okay. All right. The other thing is, let's see here. 21. Moving out before you sell can put you at a disadvantage. This is one of the first things, and I even have a happy face near that one too. Man, I've seen that one go bad. And I tell them, don't begin to start moving out, or don't even start. I'll go even further. Don't even start packing until after the appraisal, because you list the house, right? Okay, great. Then you're going to get showings, and then we'll get some feedback. And it's crazy too. Like 1 out of 4 agents, so only 25% of agents actually even give feedback. It's crazy from their buyers. But you list the house, you get the showings, you get the feedback. We negotiate, any offers that come in. Then the house goes through an inspection period, and then it goes to through the appraisal. So never pack. You can start looking around before the appraisal, let alone move. Okay, we'll let you know when it's time to get going. And of course, we're going to be overlapping some stuff, so you're aware of what homes are available, depending on where where you're moving to. 22. Deadlines create a serious disadvantage. Okay, now, and this is really in regards to unnecessary pressure. Could lead to a serious disadvantage in negotiations. So that's why we really need to know your timeline, what your goals are, what you're looking to do. And of course, the same applies to the buyer, to make sure that we're not at a disadvantage moving forward as we're going through the transaction. Okay. 23, a low offer. That goes along with number 16. Keep your emotions in check, because it can be really aggravating when somebody gives you a low offer and it almost seems like an insult, a slap in the face. We're just seeing if they can just try to get a lower offer sometimes, that's all. Because we're going to quickly find out if they can afford it, because remember, we're going to be looking at a pre-approval, a pre-qualification, or proof of funds. So they might just kind of be playing around just to see if they can get a better deal. You can't blame them. Some buyers do that, and oftentimes it's just like a matter of saying no, and we can just counter offer something that you're much more comfortable with. Okay. 24. Turn that low offer around, and this goes along with the same type of thing. It's just basically knowing how to negotiate and know what type of buyer that we're working with, the motivation, what they've seen in the past, and what they're really looking for within the house. Okay, so we can easily turn that around. 25. Maybe the buyer's not qualified, and again, this is further emphasizing knowing the mortgage person that they're working with, the lender, and the documentation that they've gone through. How well qualified are they? Have they submitted their tax returns, their W-2 information, and any more recent pay stubs, and any other financial documentation, especially how long have they been at their current position if they're working. So we go over that to make sure that you don't end up with an underqualified buyer. All right. 26. Ensure the contract is complete. So through the selling process, we make sure that the escrow deposits are in. We calculate the costs and the terms, who has what responsibility, what's actually being sold, what's being transferred with the property, if anything at all. The type of deed, or what they call contingencies. We can't buy this unless we do that. That's a contingency of sorts. All right, and any personal property that's included, that's all in there. It kind of goes through that, and it's the last thing on this item, but certainly not least. Okay, resist deviating from the contract. Okay, I try not to have any personal conversations yet with the buyer until after closing. We don't want to deviate from what's been agreed upon in the contract and lead to a he said, she said type of thing. So these are the valuable tips that are in here. It's going to help you get started. It has answers all these questions, and even some of these other things too that I've included, like 10 questions to ask your realtor, or even 10 ways to improve the home value, and the first 6 will instantly turn off a buyer. Let me know if you want any of those things. And remember the other video that's I'm trying to put up a video card, as I call it, so you can click on it, so you can see how you can easily determine the value of your home, as far as a range, market value, by using these 4 websites. Okay, and that's at this recording, at the time of this recording, as they say. All right, thanks a lot. Again, if you need this comment below and say, hey, give me that, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. All right, bye-bye.